Hey, CoupleyFit fam. Welcome to another episode of the CoupleyFit podcast. We are Kurt and Deanna Mangum II, your hosts, and we are so excited to get into part 2 of the CoupleyFit story.
There's so much more to unpack here. I know we've been talking about this since the last episode dropped of there's so much that we've gone through, overcome, and we gave them a lot of the, I would say the valleys,
Yes.
not a lot of the peaks on the last episode.
Yeah, well, that's what it was. I mean, when you're first starting a business, you may have some more valleys and trials and tribulations than you do those peaks. But now we're going to get into some of those. So we're very excited about it. So we left off the last episode talking about potentially selling, I should say, both of our rings to keep us afloat, to keep CoupleyFit going. And I was a little bit in tears the last episode, not so many this time unless it's kind of happy tears. But in 2019, we were really putting in more of the sweat and social equity into CoupleyFit and building the brand. That was something that we didn't realize how valuable it was at the time. We just knew that we had to do it, but then also being a servant leader, having a mission-based business. So we were doing a lot of speaking engagements for at-risk youth just around the valley, conferences as well that we were talking to. Any of those speaking engagements that you enjoyed?
Yeah, I loved all the speaking engagements, and really what triggered me when you said the nonprofits and giving back was that CoupleyFit became a benefit corporation.
Yes.
And so at the time, we weren't super well versed in like, what is a benefit corporation? Are you an LLC? And I know you were very pivotal in that process of making it that we are a for-profit business, but we're also using our business as a force for good. And that's the benefit corporation aspect and element. And I think that led to so many open doors of us continuing to really sow where we want to grow. Mm-hmm. So we were pouring in the community. I think back to the academies of math and science, starting off in Chandler at I Can, giving back. Oh my gosh, it was incredible to help the youth right there at Chandler High School. So all of those examples really were a segue to what we do now and the bigger speaking engagements and really having a bigger platform.
Yes, that's so true. And then because we did South by Southwest in 2019, the Startup Spotlight, we were one of the top 30 startups in the world at that time. That opportunity that, thank goodness, our friend Sierra pushed us to do.
Shout out to the Omegas, Omega
Shout
Psi
out to the Omega and the Omega
Incorporated.
Wives. Hey,
come on, we appreciate you. So, and that's just the power of friendship. For those that don't know, Omega Psi Fraternity Incorporated, I'm a member, Alpha Theta chapter, which celebrating Charter Day. So that's something huge. But I think about that because the friendship is so important. And we're going to talk about that more on this episode, is the relationships, the timing. And so having that friendship, but also having put in that work, right? So it wasn't that the fraternity or friendship was what got us the deal per se, or got us into the door. It really was more so the preparation, like the work that we put in, we're there, and then you're connecting the dots. And it's like, oh, you're here getting recognized as a top 30 startup at South by Southwest in Austin. Let me connect you with Values that's doing amazing work in the community with creators, with subject matter experts. And it truly opened a door to so many things that we've done in the past, 4 to 5 years. It really is just like, it still is amazing that it could start with just something as small as us being at South by Southwest and the relationships.
Yes. And to your point, that's how we got introduced to Values Partnerships, which they are an incredible organization. They are one of the largest social impact companies here in the United States. They are Black owned as well. So working with them, they have a few clients. That's how we were able to get in contact with Walmart. And so when everyone always asks us, is like, how are you guys become, Walmart influencers and Walmart health partners? This started back in 2019. So when we talk about putting that time into your brand and putting that time into partnerships, we were able to really advance in 2019, although it was lowest of lows. I mean, we're talking about on the financial side, there was such an uptick when it came to the actual business side, the relationships we were building, that social equity that we were also building as well, that led to these incredible opportunities. And so that's when we started also working with Walmart, that projected us to be able to work with other clients that Values also had at the time. But let's be honest, right? We are still financially struggling to some degree. So then it came down to, okay, we've either both have to get the steady Freddy, right? The steady paycheck
What is
coming
a steady
in.
Freddy? What's a steady Freddy?
It's a JOB.
Yes.
Word of the day
is J-O. We just watched Friday. Word of the day is J-O-B. Job. But no, that's real. And it's so interesting that you say that too, because what I thought about was in that moment, I realized that I had to swallow my pride of by me reaching out and saying, hey, I'm looking for a new opportunity. It was really both of us, right? Because we were open on whoever ended up getting the right opportunity. Like, we're going to keep CoupleyFit alive, but it's got to come to the point where this is going simultaneously as some checks is coming in, right? Like, we've got to get both things going right. Bennies. We have to get some benefits. Like, those were all like things that were super important, because you don't want, you know, at the gym, you don't want to be deciding if you're going to play basketball or not, and it's based on if you've got the benefits. Because, like, man, if an Achilles or something gets pulled out here, don't want to be in a situation where I can't go to urgent care, right? It gets real.
It gets real.
So getting the benefits, but what happened, and I just think back to, and this is for anybody that's in that moment right now where maybe you have a business, maybe you have something that you're working on, it is okay to ask for help.
Yes.
So I go back to that moment, I'm like, man, we're struggling. Okay, we've got our 15 RFPs out, potential, but the sales cycle is 6 months on some of these things in healthcare and corporate wellness. Being able to put the fillers out and post it on LinkedIn, hey, looking for new opportunities. And I didn't post, and what held me back from posting before that was I felt like by me saying that I'm looking for new opportunities was me signaling that CoupleyFit is failing. When in reality, we're not failing, we're learning, we're growing. We're also bootstrapping and doing it with no funding, literally ourselves. So that's a whole nother like lift and kind of battle that we're climbing. So with that being said, I felt like it was the perfect timing, and then the doors opened through relationships with CoupleyFit to be able to get connected to ISSA, the International Sports Sciences Association. And it wasn't like I came in as the vice president like I am now. Like, that was 5.5 years ago. I literally came in on inside sales, hungry. Like, when I say starving, I love Les Brown.
Not literally, but.
No, not literally starving, but like Les Brown's like, you got to be hungry. And more so in your mindset and your mentality that like, I literally have to put food on the table, whatever it takes. So I got a job on inside sales. And I'm, education advisor, and I'm literally doing phone sales at the time, helping people figure out what certifications they wanted. And it was just a grind, but it was like low base salary at the time. You can get started, but it's high commission or like unlimited potential.
Correct.
But you got to put the hours in. You have to put the time in. And that was a pivotal moment too in our journey, but I was learning so much in that process. Yes.
And I remember that. Do you remember when we sat down? And it's funny now, but it was not funny then. It was not funny then. So if you've been listening to the past couple of episodes, I've been talking about how I am the budgeter, I am the planner, I am the one that is in charge of our finances as well. So I remember we have a whiteboard in our office, and I'm writing down essentially how long it's going to take for us to be able to dig ourselves out of the hole that we were in.
Out of the hole means out of debt, like, because it was all numbers.
It was all numbers. It's all numbers, and I'm working through it. I'm showing him. I know too that you're also day to day, so I'm trying to keep it so that it's not so overwhelming.
I was overwhelmed, y'all.
You were overwhelmed. But I feel like it did give us a great opportunity to say, okay, at this month mark, this is when we're going to break even. This is then how we're going to start hitting our profit margins. Now, don't get me wrong. At the same time you're in ISSA, I was taking the time to almost kind of rebrand a little bit of what we were doing on social media, because thankfully in 2019, we were able to build our Instagram page to 20,000 followers.
Huge.
So the page that you see now with the 2 T's is our second page. Yeah. We'll talk a little bit more about that when it comes to the year 2020. Yeah. But we built our page up, and that's also another indicator for Walmart to work with us too, because we had the social media following. We had the community for 3 years at that time that we've been building and slowly building throughout the time. And so I remember saying to you, I'm so proud of you. I appreciate you so much. You are thank you for going to work for us, all of those things, because it was a grind. I remember talk about what, not necessarily a day in the life, but how early you were waking up. You're going into the office with your manager. Sometimes it's 12, 13-hour days, and how we worked also together during that time. And then also we're still building CoupleyFit on the side. And that was still one of my main focuses while I was also looking for part-time.
Yeah, no, that was real.
That was real.
And to think about the journey, so you go through the journey of, like we talked about, the pawn shop, the selling of the things, the whiteboard of this is what we need to get out of debt. This is like the hole that we're in. Thinking about, man, credit score dropped. You had all of these things. It was just like the epitome of like the struggle is real. But now it's like there's an opportunity. What are we going to do with it? And so looking at that light at the end of the tunnel, but it was like it's literally unlimited upside.
Yes.
But you just got to put the work in, and you decide where it falls. And so I remember we had 2 cars. We had your car, we had my car. I sold my car. And so now I have this job, but it's a 45-minute commute, really 55 minutes if it's in traffic each way. So I'm like, man, that's 2 hours in the car. I sold my car. We're down to a 1-car household. If I drive and take the car to work, Dee's without a car all day. So I'm thinking about this, and we're like, man, my first day in the office, I'm like, man, is anybody in the East Valley I can carpool with? And my manager, shout out to Ben.
Shout out to Ben.
Ben for the win.
Yes.
Ben's like, man, I got you. He's like, hey, yeah, I'll pick you up. Only catch, I open the office at like 5:45 a.m. So I can carpool with you, but I just got to pick you up at like 5:30, 5:20 a.m. I was like, no question. I'm in. Because also it's saving on gas. So that there were so many factors when I first started the job, didn't have the gas money to get to work. So the reality was it's not even just about like driving the car to work. It's like literally the gas to get back. And so you go through that grind of getting to the office at 5:45. You're on the phones, and I'm making 200 dials a day. 200 outbound. People are hanging up on me. Some people cussing me out, but some people are super passionate about, like, I want to get certified. Help me believe in the journey and the dream. And I'm like, oh, let me tell you my experience starting off as a trainer and going back to coming home from college and working out in fitness. And it was really this full circle moment. But also, you mentioned the 20,000 followers. We started off, and I'm in inside sales, but the CEO of the company recognized in our interview, I saw you guys on YouTube. I saw your journey at South by Southwest in Austin, Texas. And you guys with this thing.
I'm from Austin.
I'm from Austin. You're going to be the first like influencer for ISSA that's going to be promoting. You're going to be you're going to be like an employee player. Like you're an influencer and an employee. And I was like, we're in. Like, let's. And so it opened so many doors. But I say that grind, to your point, you're there at 5:30. I'm making 200 dials a day. The day doesn't end at like 3 or whenever your 8 hours is up, because you're carpooling with the manager. So, the old school, you leave when your ride leaves.
Okay.
So I'm looking for the ride by the door. Like, when are you leaving? So sometimes it's 3:30, it's 4 o'clock. Then I would be making its commission based. So you're making appointments and you're waiting for people to call you back. I'm closing deals, laptops up in the car ride to and from work. Like, I'm hooked up to his Bluetooth or his hotspot, like deals. But we were able to really see the fruits of our labor when you start seeing $10,000 checks drop in a month, or different things from the commission hitting back then of like, oh, you put up, 130,000 in sales or set the company record. Like, there's a lot of commission that can be made, but staying humble in that moment, because it was crazy. But some of those big commission checks would drop, and literally the entire check.
I had to tell you that.
You're like, baby, you work so hard, and I'd love to be able to, like, we can go out to eat or go do something. It's like this entire check is gone towards what's already owed. Debt, like kind of like back pay, different things that were just waiting and for this time. But I think back to that, and I'm so grateful, because it was a grind, but it does tell you that you can overcome, and that with faith over fear, like faith plus works, because you can believe, you can have the faith that you'll get an opportunity, but you have to put in the work once that opportunity comes.
And I remember just like, okay, what I have to be in a supportive role for him, but then I also need to help. This is like I had to build you up too, because there are over time, there were some other nuances behind the scenes that a lot of people don't know about, and we may eventually talk about that, which led into you losing confidence in yourself, losing confidence in, I think, what you were able to do. But I always told you, even through those trials and tribulations, not only do I believe in you, I know that you can do anything that you set your mind to. I knew that if you set your mind to it, that you were going to complete it. And I said, okay, so what can I do to help support you? So I'd make sure all your meals would prep. I'd make sure that you would have extra snacks because you get a little hangry sometimes.
Yes, facts.
I'd make sure that you would have, not your call sheet, but I made a graph for you that included
you found the daily agenda of like, this is the day.
I'd write Bible verses at the top for you too, different Bible verses just to help you stay motivated and keep going. We would talk to each other while you're on break. Hey, how's it going? What's going on? How are you feeling about it? That was one thing I was very adamant about is, okay, I need to make sure that I'm pouring into you. And that's also just quickly going back to a relationship piece. There's going to be times where maybe somebody in the relationship needs more of you and needs you to pour into them more because of whatever they may be going through, and vice versa. And that's the point of a relationship. And we mentioned that even in episode 1 where we said relationships are not 50-50 all the time. And most of the time they're not. Most of the time somebody else is giving more than they're receiving or vice versa. And so I remember that also happening. But I quickly want to just point out that I'm sure some people are thinking, well, why didn't you just, go to your local bank and just get a business loan? Or why didn't you just, find another funding opportunity? And in 2019, we went to a leadership conference, a CEO leadership conference, and we were sitting at a round table with multiple CEOs from around the valley and even some that flew in for this conference. I'm the only female at this entire table, which is the story of my life in this sense. But as we were listening to people's story, we're hearing the amount of people that are saying that they gave up equity in order to receive funding. And they were saying, gosh, I wasn't able to make the moves that I wanted to. I always had to essentially have somebody that I answered to. And then there was one gentleman, do you remember? Mm-hmm. There was one gentleman who owned 100% of his company. And the way that everybody was almost gawking at him.
Unicorn.
You're a unicorn. And they said, if you have 100% of your company, you can do whatever you want. Do you know how much I would wish and love to be in your position to not have to have a partner that I answer to because I needed funding within my first 3 years? So we were taking that into account as we were kind of going through our struggles and saying to ourselves, okay, do we run this pilot, which we did, prove Swan. We had a gentleman that was going to invest $1 million into us. And
you can't just gloss over in the same sit down round table that we got the feedback not to give up equity. Mm-hmm. We also have someone that basically is like, hey, 7 figures, $1 million. Would you guys, how much equity?
This is how much I believe in it.
How much equity are you willing to give up? Mm-hmm. And we're like, None right now, because we don't want to do that. We want to be able to determine, and we've had so many pivots to your point, where if we would have had given up equity or gone to the bank and gotten another, because we did get a line of credit, for example, but as you can imagine, the interest on that is so high and so crazy. And you've got to, as a small business owner, and we'll get to some of the tips for small businesses and things that we learned, but it is going to take more time than you think.
Yes.
So you get a business like, the bank gives you a line of credit. Oh, great. But now what happens when those checks are due every month and now there's interest on that? And you're like, well, we're 3 months out from that contract, or we've got something happen personally and we had to use money over here. Now the business. So there's all of these elements where it wasn't a situation where we just had, some soft cushion to fall back on, or, funding. Right. And so those elements, it's a great call out. And I just want to mention, because I think there's a lot of people, both whether they're male, female, right, in the relationship, it's not always 50-50 is a great call out. Sometimes it is 80-20 or 70-30, or your 50-50 just looks different. And so you made a great call out because it was so valuable for me to have your support and you understanding that this is the time that I have to grind.
100%.
Because a lot of times what I typically see, and you see this in athletics, but you were an athlete as well, but you'll see the athlete that's maybe dating a non-athlete and they don't understand the grind.
That's true.
You hear Kobe talk about the Mamba mentality, and he's got the early mornings, the late nights, the dog get 3 training a day. People are like, why aren't you hanging out with me? Your partner's like, why aren't you chilling? Why aren't we just at home or going to the movies?
You weren't with me shooting in the gym.
You weren't with me shooting in the gym, right? All of those elements. So there's this balance of people want the success. They want to be like, I want to be with a high achiever, but what comes with that?
That's true.
How am I willing to support a high achiever?
That's true.
How am I willing to also see like I'm a high achiever as well? And these are things that can help him win in this situation.
Absolutely. And to your point, I think that does go back to the athlete mentality, but that also goes back to our foundation. And that's the foundation that we built even before we were married, that, hey, there's going to be times that we do need to grind. We're both grinding. You were grinding in the airport at the time for your family business. I was still in food and beverage, working in 2 days, working 24 hours. And so it's just, you get used to a certain mindset. You get used to a certain grind where that this is the time it needs to happen. Right. This will eventually slow down. But right now, this is where all hands on deck need to be here. So I appreciate you bringing that up, because I think that does come full circle. But I just wanted to touch on that piece of what we learned, because people I'm sure are thinking, why didn't you just go get some funding and things like that? So I just wanted to make sure I brought that up. And
it always sounds easier to just like go get funding.
Get funding.
Just go out and grab money.
Out and grab it.
And
it's like you have to pay that back. And then even on business loans, there's still going to be some sort of interest on that. So it's just, you need to figure out what works best for you and what financial help works best for you. And then, move along that way. Because we know a lot of people too that also were fortunate enough to be able to have their family help them out. And shout out to my mom, because she sure did help us out, and we appreciate her so much. But again, it's not to the extent of what we needed at that time. Correct. And so it's just figuring it out. And I also want to preface too, in 2019, I was 28, you're 29. Right. So this is before 30, and we're going through some very, not only serious, but then also the trials and tribulations for being, I would say that's young, for being that young and having to make such hard decisions that young. That's really prepared us, as we're 34 now, to be able to make the hard decisions, and they get easier. The more that you can make the hard decisions, the more that you can critically think through them. And then if you have, mentors or people that are there to support you, bounce ideas off of them as well. The hard decisions get easier, and that's in business, but then also for us, that was in our relationship as well. They're going to get easier through time. Yeah, I love that you mentioned that too. And just to touch on something that you said, that it kind of brought me back, because we talked about this recently when it comes to that confidence element, because that was a big thing for me at that time, where the confidence was shaken in a couple of areas for me. One was, I had always identified as an athlete. I've been a football player from 6, 7 years old all the way until finishing college, supposed to go to the pros in the league, all of these things. And now that identity is like changed. So that's one shift. All right. And then I go into the family business, and I'm working with the family in the airport, helping them grow. And I knew that wasn't my journey and my path. And I love being able to support and help, but I knew food and beverage wasn't something that I was passionate about, like health and wellness. But it's also different, especially with family, because a lot, especially other generations, right? I'm thinking about our parents, right? Yeah, grandparents. Yeah. The idea was, you get a job, you stay at that job for sometimes 40 years. Yes. Like you literally, you get you a good job and you stay there for 40 years. We were just talking to my mom about this yesterday. 40 years, right? She said, I work like a dog. Work like a dog. You're there 40 years. Some people, your grandfather worked there 35 years, never missed a day. Never missed a day. So there's like these experiences. And then also the previous generations, it wasn't about what you're passionate about, what you want to do, what you love. No, it's about work. What's available, What's open? Who's hiring? Job. And so there's this different shift where you can align, and that's what, people are selling it on social media of align your passion with your purpose, make all of this money in your passion. But the reality is it's a yes and, because there is a way to find both. And I feel like we're so grateful because we've been able to find that. But we went through a lot of things that we realized were not our passion, whether that was like live personal training or group training, running a gym, doing meal plans and meal delivery, right? Doing customer service. We were like, this is not it. So being able to see the things you don't want to do, financial services. There was a time where my family was like, no, Kurt, you need to be a financial advisor. Yes. Like, that's it. That's it. They told you if like, he's going to miss his calling right now. Correct. If he doesn't go this route. And I'm like, you guys, I did the day in the life. I did the tour. I don't want
I'm not that interested in like the math. Like I like the
Yeah.
numbers of like the dollars
Yes.
and cents, but the math,
Yeah.
like, oof, that was one. But then secondly, the first thing that they were saying was like, oh, you want to be a financial advisor? You're going to need to call all the people that you know
You
and
need to
ask
tap
them for
into your
money.
network.
Wait, I don't know what I'm doing yet, and I got to call everybody I know and ask them for money? I don't want people ignoring my phone calls. So like I just already knew that wasn't for me, but it's that identity, to your point of, if I'm not doing the food and beverage, the family business, if I'm not doing financial services and that's what you think I need to do, if I'm not doing the NFL, my gosh, what am I doing? What is my passion and my purpose? And I knew it was fitness, and we were going down this path of CoupleyFit, but finding that like passion and purpose where those roads meet was really the journey that we were on.
We fell into it. So that's why also you're hearing that we are going through a few pivots throughout our journey, because we never set out to do this in the first place, per se. It looked a little bit different. And then also realizing that, oh, this is more mission based as well. So if you are more mission based, it's not always about the dollars and cents, but realizing that a business is dollars and cents. You have to have, again, that purpose, passion, but then there's finances too. You can't be naive to the fact that you have to have some sort of capital.
That rent is going to be due.
Okay. So now let's jump into 2020. Ooh. So as we know, this is COVID year. This is tough for everybody. People were microwaving their mail. It was really, we didn't know what was going on.
Times were strange. Couldn't get toilet paper.
Times were strange,
paper
right?
towels.
Come on. We're remembering like, oh, this is only going to maybe last 3 months, maybe 6 months. Then it gets longer and longer. And it was something that nobody was prepared for, and nor were we. And then again, coming from 2019, where we're already having a kind of a struggle year, and then heading into 2020, where now the entire world is struggling, that was something that we always say, we feel like our COVID year was 2019, because that's where we had like our biggest struggles. That's where we had the true trials and tribulations were coming through. But in 2020, we were actually... Well, first and foremost, our 20K page was hacked on Instagram.
That was crazy.
In March. We were receiving extortion emails, and a lot of other social media influencers or people that were on social media that had larger followings were saying the same thing and saying, hey, make sure you protect your account, 2-step authentication. Like, people are coming out here to hack in and try to get the money from you. Yeah,
and to your point with the two, so when people talk about like, what is that? Like, what's the scam for social media or for hacking? If you think about it, your business is on.
Your business is on social media.
Your business is your social media page.
That was one of the main reasons Walmart wanted to work with us.
Someone then gets into your account. They change the phone number and the email, so now you can't recover it. And now they're reaching out to you, basically saying, I've got your account, and if you want it back, it's going to be X amount,
correct,
thousands of dollars, whatever it is.
Bitcoin.
And in Bitcoin. So you can't even like trace them.
Trace it.
They're messaging you from another country.
Yes.
It's like Russia or somewhere.
Yeah.
And we don't even know if that's Germany. We don't know if they were actually there. So it was a really crazy experience, and you're asking yourself the question of, and also we just got done talking about financially, man, page is hacked. We're not financially in a situation where we can run the risk of giving somebody money that we don't have to get our page back.
We could at that time, thankfully, but we couldn't run the risk of it not being traceable, them just saying, thank you, appreciate it.
Or give me more money.
Correct.
So scary. It was scary times as far as that goes. And I know we had to ask ourselves the question of like, man, you grow to this level and you've done all of this work. Mm-hmm. Do we start over? Do we just say no more Instagram?
For 7 days.
Like it was really devastating.
Yeah.
And it also was such a shift timeline wise, because like for ISSA and me going into work, it ended up being a situation where everybody's now working remotely because of the pandemic.
True.
So I'm not going into the office, which was a whole nother just thing that we had to adapt to.
Yes, that's so true. And then, during this time too, it was in June where we had the unfortunate murder of George Floyd.
Tragically.
It was tragic. But what we saw was that there was the tap into the empathy that was around the world, because we were all going through the same thing at the same time with COVID. But then we're also seeing what is happening to this Black man as well. And so that's when our phones started ringing off the hook. for DEI initiatives. Hey, what can we do in our space to be able to help it, the Black Lives Matter movement? So we were getting calls from the city of Phoenix, from the city of Tempe, from Pinterest, from Walmart, from these really large brands asking us our opinion on what we should do for the community. I know Walmart at that time too, we were also in a series. Do you remember that? Yeah. We were in a series and we were talking to multiple SVPs within Walmart in the community engagement, finances, social impact, and I think there was one more, health and wellness. And we are able to just be a sounding board, but then also give our kind of subject matter expert opinions on, hey, not only is this what's happening in the community, but then this is also what are some changes that can be made as you guys move forward and continue with this hopefully initiative. Now we know, and we're not naive to what has been happening in the media now with Walmart and the...
And I think it's negative press around DEI as a whole.
As a whole right now.
And I think there's also a level of, and I don't mean to cut you off, but there's a level of confusion around what are people talking about?
What are people talking
when
about?
they say they're scaling back DEI?
Correct.
And then even...
And then what is DEI? What is diversity, equity, and inclusion?
What does that mean?
What is it?
And then who all falls under that bucket?
Who falls under that category? Falls under that category? So that was something that actually was a catalyst for us to be able to get into more DEI opportunities. And that was something for us. We weren't expecting with CoupleyFit to be kind of in this space in the way that we were, but it was another little pivot for us that we said, okay, well, if we are a trusted voice in this space, then we have to use our voice. And that's what you're hearing over and over as we start CoupleyFit is we've always been wanted to be able to use our voice. Also, one of the reasons we started the podcast. Yeah. We want to be able to use our voice as a force for good as well as our business. But it was interesting. And also people were asking us to be on their podcast. Can you be on our pod? We'd love to be able to talk more about how you guys also as Black owners are affected and just moving forward in that sense.
And the representation was important too, because when you think about George Floyd and the situation of not only him being murdered, but the I can't breathe and people being able to see it.
Yes.
And see it from the landscape of that could be my brother, that could be my father, not
taking race out of it.
Not his race or did he commit a crime or what did he do? It's just like, hey, that's a human being. How do we find a way to help and serve, right? And that aspect, I think, was so eye-opening for so many people, but it kind of opened up some of the conversations of, well, what can we do a little bit differently as far as the approach? And I'm just grateful that we were able to use our relationships and things in the community to also raise awareness as well. I mean, one of the big things that I think back to in that time, really grateful for our partners at State 48, being able to collaborate with them. We had the, with Black Luster, the Black owned clothing company that's also Arizona based, doing a collaborative t-shirt to be able to raise awareness, raise funds for some community organizations, but raise awareness about unity. Because that was what our big takeaway was. And we want to unite. How do we unite the people and bring people together versus creating more division? We don't need division between races and the police or different people in the police. We need unity amongst everybody so that we can come to a place where we're all here uplifting each other, uplifting the community, making it safer and better for all of the members, right, of the community. And I think having that mindset and then having the timing where people are asking the questions of what can be done, what can we do, how do I become an ally, and what does allyship look like? And I think that was something that was really big in 2020. And everybody's at home, so there's also like this time to think about it and process versus we're back on the move. I'm back at work. I'm back on the road.
I'm worried about what's going on in my life. I'm not worried about what's going on in your life. That led into not even maybe 2 months after that, we were fortunate enough to be on the Scottsdale Health magazine cover. But just to give some quick insight on that, we went to a conference in 2019. Again, I'm talking about we had one tank of gas for probably 2 weeks. And we had to go from Chandler to Scottsdale to Chandler twice. And I remember thinking like, oh my gosh, this is going to take half a tank just to be able to do this. But it led into this opportunity.
I also vividly remember coming to the conference with a lunch packed.
Oh, we had a lunch packed.
People thought we were like bodybuilders, and it's like, no,
Yes, no.
like this isn't a
We
bodybuilder
just
lunch.
can't
This is, we don't have the
afford-
money to grab lunch while we're here.
don't.
So I remember
And I
packing
remember
a lunch.
spaghetti and,
Yes.
and meat sauce.
And we didn't have the money for the conference. So we
Yes.
won. Shout out to Nicole Maiden.
Nicole Maiden.
Man, Magic Maiden.
Magic Maiden touch.
We went to her workshop, and we actually won tickets to the Fitposium conference, which was in Scottsdale. And so knowing us, and that's one thing that I look back to, and so many people don't know how to smile through it all and be grateful through it all, because if we would have showed up and act like our finances were, we would have never gotten an opportunity. Right. If we would have showed up like we're broke and struggling, and right now we don't, we're trying to stay optimistic. Like people, they if people see that, then they're not like, oh, this is somebody I want to give an opportunity to. But we showed up with our passion, with our enthusiasm, with all the work.
That's kind of all we have right now.
That's all we have.
That's all we have
right now. But we showed up with that, and we literally, it was the last interview. So the format of the conference, ton of value and information, but the ending was like, you got a chance to meet with different editors from different magazines,
podcasts,
about your story, about your journey, about
you're pitching yourself.
You're literally pitching yourself at the end of this conference. And
it was like Shape Magazine, Men's Health Magazine, Women's
magazines.
Health. There were some really big names there. And our last stop was Scottsdale Health Magazine, and they almost told us no, but they were like, you know what, we'll take you guys. And shout out to Nicole Maiden, because we were asking her, Nicole, what should we wear? What should we say? How should we pitch ourselves? And she was literally the main catalyst for us being able to get that magazine because of her expertise. Please check out her book, You Are Worthy, and it's all about PR and making sure that you know that you're worthy of PR. Just a quick shout out to her. And we didn't think anything of it. I mean, for months. It might have been
no instant gratification.
No instant gratification. Like, did we get it? Yes? No? Maybe?
And we weren't supposed to interview. We weren't supposed to interview together. That was the other thing. In this setup with the interviews, it was supposed to be only individuals.
Well, yes, but they knew our brand was too.
But that's
they made an exception for
literally
an
exception. But now we're both on the cover, which was just a whole thing of like, whoa. Yes. It wasn't just one of us. It was both of us on the cover. And it wasn't just like a cover. It was a cover in a 4-page spread. In Scottsdale Health Magazine. Yeah. Like, whoa.
That was a catalyst on the media side for us to be able to, we took this magazine, I was essentially on a tour with all of the, Arizona networks out here. And again, another shout out to Nicole Maiden. She's telling us what to wear. Yeah. She's telling us what to say, how to set up our activations when we're there. And then I remember we launched it on social media, and again, we lost our page. So we maybe at the time had like 3,000 followers. We were still building, and people were coming out so strong, supporting us, just saying, this is where you guys are meant to be. This is incredible. It was a cover, the cover, and it's saying feeling better together. Shout out to Lynette Carrington. She wrote our article, and she's writing things like power couple. And we were seeing our name not only on the cover, but then in the 4-page spread. We were not only so grateful, but we were a little bit in shock too of just, wow, this is some of that hard work is paying off. Is kind of what it also came down to too, because we were working so hard. But when you start getting that type of recognition, it feels like, okay, we're on the right path, and this is the journey that we're supposed to be on, no matter what it looks like. Just continue down that road, continue to persevere and be persistent. And that was incredible, because that led to a lot of, again, live media appearances. We were on Channel 3, AZ Family. We were on AZ Daily Mix with Brad Perry. That was actually our first stop. And we were talking about all things that couples can do together to feel better. And so it was just an incredible tour that also led to other opportunities where Channel 3 was reaching out to us about Motivation Mondays, and we were teaching people about exercises during COVID, these are the exercises you can do in your office chair. And it was something that was just absolutely incredible to see ourselves also on live TV, and people texting us after like, were you just on live TV? Did I just see you on the news? We're like, yeah, that's us. So it was a great way for those past, 3-4 years of that hard work to see that in that type of recognition.
100%. And I think what's so also so interesting during this time is that when people see the live TV, the cover of the magazine, all of these elements, it's almost like the success thing, like it was in our hands without being there yet. Like we're feeling it, we're getting closer, but it wasn't like you're getting paid to be on live TV or you're making all this money just from that. We have other things that are opening doors and collaborations and partnerships from the visibility. But it's, you have to be visible. And something that we really learned, that this is for anybody out there, that's whether it's your business, sports, you've got to dominate your local market.
You have to.
If you're not the best on your team, how can you be the best in your city or the best in your state before you can be the best in the country or the world, right? So like starting there and then continuing to grow, and all the things we did in the community and poured in, that's what made all of these elements in live TV, we were like, it became natural. And they're like, oh my gosh, you guys are super natural up here on TV. We're like, well, we've been speaking to schools and to organizations and nonprofits and
then also our social media work, right?
Correct.
Like we're collaborating with these large brands and we're posting that content on social media. And so now it's all of it was kind of coming together, right? Like it was the perfect storm in that sense where everything was coming together. And interesting enough, though, in 2020, because we were getting that visibility, yes, we were already working with, cities and these larger brands, but that's when we truly started getting even more in depth into the city of Tempe. Yeah. That's when we started getting some of our modeling opportunities, was started in 2020. And so when people used to, text us and say, I'm seeing you guys on a billboard, I see you guys in the magazine,
like on
the freeway and those things, that's coming from some of the modeling opportunities that we were able to get to, because number one, it was a representation piece in 2020 where we may not have access to Black couples. It was also the piece that people have worked with us before. And one thing about us is we're servant leaders. So we're always going to be in a position where we can be a passion partner, and we want to try to help you, whether it is just you personally or you as a business, before we even ask for anything on our end. But people loved working with us so much that they would always say, you guys are top of mind for this opportunity. I'm always thinking about you guys for anything that comes across my desk. So that's also how we were able to get into some of that modeling opportunity in 2020, which led into 2021 and 2022.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that, because people would say, like, how did you get into modeling? Like, what happened? How did it? And to your point with the relationships, and also just showing up your authentic selves, because, shout out to JJ, Jeff Johnson. He literally connected the dots of like, I think he was doing either taxes or something for a company. He's like, they're looking for two. He was looking for two Black creators to be able to model and to be able to go through that process. And so it was incredible to be able to get that open door. And then that leading to us being, on the cover of the City of Tempe's tourism guide, back-to-back years. Like, it's incredible to think of where it leveled up to, but it always reminds me of where God says, if I can trust you with the small, then you can prove that you'll be ready for the much, or for something bigger. And that's what I felt like our journey continued to do, was you give us something small, we're going to prove that we're going to not only treat it like this is the opportunity, but we're going to show ourselves as being ready, prepared, focused, and it opened the door. And being our authentic selves just opened the door to more opportunities.
Absolutely. So I know we're coming up on the end of the episode, so we're going to kind of run through these past 3 or 4 years.
I don't know. We might have to do part 3. I don't know.
Part 3.
Maybe.
Okay. Oh my gosh. So 2021, 2022, that's really where you started seeing our partnerships go to the next level, because again, we've already worked with them. They understand how we work. They know that we're tedious. We're also timely. We are also going to put our everything into every single piece of content that we create for somebody or that we are in. And so as we were rebuilding our page that we lost in 2020, we were still able to kind of model to help supplement, but then we started getting even more partnership opportunities because we are not your typical influencers. And so although people look at influencers as being, they are kind of getting a negative rap.
Cameras everywhere taking pictures.
Cameras, I'm just taking pictures. We're going to do a whole episode about what it's like to be a content creator, because it is not for the weak. It is hard. Although you see the end result, you're not seeing the time, the consistency, everything that goes into it. But we were able to work with partners like Hilton, Omni Hotels and Resorts. We were able to tap into, again, we're still working with the city of Phoenix, the city of Tempe. We went down to Tucson. Yeah. We were really hitting all of the cities in Arizona. And that was something that helped us to be able to get even more visibility on CoupleyFit, but it did allow us to build within Arizona, which is what you were talking about with dominating the local market.
Yeah, I mean, it was the partnerships, but it was also timing and the relationships. And I love, the saying, your network is your net worth, because if you have someone that can refer you so much of the business, even right now today,
Oh, yeah.
I would have to say, they say like 80% of your opportunities come from your network. But that's literally where people will tell us, oh, we just got referred to you by so-and-so. Oh, Tempe loved working with you. They told us we had to work with you. We just went to the U.S. women's soccer suite collaboration, all of those things. But it was because we had an incredible experience with Phoenix Rising, right? So like it opens more doors when you have a great experience and you have those relationships. But that's so important, is the timing and the relationships, which have really led, it's kind of crazy now, but last year, I mean, the awards and different things were like, it was crazy.
Yes, exactly. Anything else 2021, 2022 you can think of?
There was a lot that we did, but it kind of fell under the collaborations, partnerships. We did a lot more travel and different things with brands, but we still gave back to the community a lot too with the nonprofits.
Correct. And also at that time, starting, well, even back in 2020 through kind of 2022, 23, we were also working with Fabulous Arizona.
Yes.
That was another opportunity for us where we were already in the community. And so we were working with Fab AZ, and shout out to Cynthia Saucy. She's an incredible female founder of that brand. But then that led into 2023, which now we're getting back into the rhythm of working with the brands that we've truly established ourselves with, and that are first and foremost are one of our best partners we've worked with is Walmart. Absolutely. And that's when we were on basically a Walmart open call tour.
U.S. manufacturing.
U.S. manufacturing. So if you want to give a little bit more background on the Open Call initiative that Walmart has.
Yeah, absolutely. So Walmart Open Call, which was a 10-year commitment to investing into locally made products, U.S. made and produced from veterans, minority business owners all over the U.S., but supporting those products and helping them get on their shelves inside of Walmart, almost like Shark Tank, but for Walmart and for Sam's Club. And so we were able to travel all across the country and spotlight the Walmart Open Call initiatives, the different founders, the incredible stories, the ideas, the brands, the innovative ideas from, chocolate made with dates that's healthier and sugar-free for you, to dude wipes and different, it's so much innovation that's happening.
The Stapleys, who had the beignets.
Stapleys, those are delicious. Woo. But it was incredible to be able to have these conversations, tell these stories, and also be behind the camera a little bit more, because we were hosting panels and doing different things like that to drive awareness all across social media about the Walmart Open Call, and also driving access to these opportunities that people always want to know, like, how do I get
into
on Walmart shelves?
How do I get into Sam's Club?
And that's an opportunity, and it's every year, and that's something that's still going on. They're investing $350 billion into Walmart Open Call in this process over 10 to 20 years. So definitely it's something you can still apply to if you have a product that you want to get on Walmart shelves.
Yes. And to your point, when we were able to interview the founders so we went to, let me back up a little bit. So after we did our entire tour, and we're going everywhere, that was incredible. We also were at the actual Open Call, event where
you get your golden ticket.
Oh my gosh. So we were able to interview the winners who now were running out of the room. I just pitched my idea. Walmart's picking it up. I have my golden ticket. We're interviewing them right after. The pure elation was... It's still to this day, I'm smiling as I say this because it was so genuine. It makes you want to cry when you hear everybody's stories. And again, we were able to kind of focus in on whether it was a husband-wife team in the health and wellness space, Black business owners. Yeah. So that was something for us that this is fueling our hearts. It's giving the mission, and it's also giving the business side as well. So that was an absolutely incredible experience. We highly recommend that if you do have a product, to check out their Walmart Open Call, their page, and see if you can, get yourself into that opportunity. We were able to moderate at Rice Atlanta, which is incredible. It was essentially a Black business incubator, and we were able to go in there and moderate the questions that maybe the audience had with Walmart's employees and executives. And that was something that was so incredible for us to be able to do, just to see the joy and to see the opportunity. Like the opportunity was in people's hands, and some people actually got golden tickets there. So that was a highlight of CoupleyFit just in general. And so that's also when we were still working with Values Partnerships, because they're incredible for us too. We're still doing our media appearances, modeling, and those things that are now you see where we started in 2019. And if you haven't, we highly recommend you checking out part 1 of where we started and then where we are in this 2023. And you can see the changes that when we knew something wasn't working, we were not afraid to pivot. We were not too rigid to say, no, we're going to continue down this road. No, we pivoted whenever we needed to. And then also, again, it's finding that footing of what do we want CoupleyFit to be? What do we want to stand for? What are our pillars? What do we want others to think of us when they think of CoupleyFit? So then that leads us into 2024.
I want to say was that 2023 though that we were recognized as Walmart Black Health Heroes?
That was, yes, 2023. That was incredible. Big time. That was big time for us. Yeah. Wow. Thank you for bringing that up. It's not that I forgot. I just forgot what year, but Walmart Black Health Heroes, incredible opportunity for us. I'll never forget when we received a box from Walmart and it had Black Health Heroes, and it was a box filled with all of the products that were either being sponsored or even services. And our names were on it with huge names. I mean, we're talking about Bubba Wallace was on there. We are talking about
Naomi Osaka,
who's the famous tennis player, and amongst other incredible leaders as well. And I remember when I got that box, I literally just started tearing up and crying. So I'm like, oh my gosh, you never think that maybe you would get here. Or in some cases, you're going to get there, but when it actually happens, and it goes back to that saying of I'm living the dreams that I prayed for. It was just an incredible opportunity for, again, all of the hard work, the blood, sweat, and tears that we put into CoupleyFit to be recognized in that way. That was incredible. That was something another highlight.
That was a big time highlight.
Yeah, 100%. That was a big time highlight. That was 2023. So 2024, as we just wrap up here, we, we're still doing our modeling, our partnerships. Social media is taking off because we're now building up to, having more followers. We're having more engagement and those things. But really what was a big catalyst in us for 2024 was being able to partner with Forbes BOK.
That was huge. Yeah. And, being able to continue to network, build the relationships, saw the opportunity with Forbes having a space in a community for Black business owners, entrepreneurs, leaders, getting involved in that, joining as members, but then having the opportunity to actually host a wellness workshop for Community Day with Forbes BOK in Atlanta was at Rice was incredible. And then just to have that also kind of lead into, we had that happen. Then the United States Black Chamber recognized us as Power 50 under 40 leaders, top 50 most powerful leaders under 40 years old in the United States. Yeah. And that was after we went to the vice president's residence.
Yes.
That was incredible. So 2024 was like, there were a lot of moments
Titan 100.
That was another thing. Titan 100 being recognized, top 100 executives in the Phoenix area by Titan 100 leadership group, and having it be both of us. Because a lot of times I think there can be this point where in athletics, for sure, it's like, oh, your husband or your wife is a professional athlete and like they're winning and you're cheering them on or you're rooting for them as they're getting awards. But I'm so grateful that what we're doing is together, and when we're on stage, they're calling Kurt and Deanna, they're calling both of us together, and we're being recognized for the hard work and the things that we've done. And so that's really like an incredible just reminder.
Yes. Yeah. No, last year was where we really saw a lot of things hit for us in the sense of the accolades. And so that's why we wanted to do these episodes so that you can hear where we came from, where we were talking about potentially selling our rings to keep ourselves afloat, pawning, chains, and getting rid of, your entire sneaker collection, which is so hard when you're a sneakerhead. I already know. I know when you're a sneakerhead, right? And designer things, but it also is a reminder that the material things will come and go.
Yeah.
But what is always going to continue to last, especially for us, is having that love and that faith at our foundation, because we've had the faith of a mustard seed as we've continued to grow and go through our journey with CoupleyFit. But 2024 was an incredible year. So what's on the schedule for 2025?
2025, I would say we're here.
We're here.
What you're
The
seeing.
CoupleyFit podcast is what you're
Relaunched.
seeing. We're taking everything that we've learned. We're taking all our entire journey, the people that we've talked to, and we're bringing it to you in this podcast because we feel like if we are able to help you not have to go through something that we went through, or just to be able to give you a little nugget that you can take into your life that changes your perspective on something that may change your actual mindset, then that's what we're here for. We always have felt like God has been able to bless us with the ability to be not only compassionate, but to be passion partners, servant leaders. And if we can serve you all, then that's what we feel like we're on this earth to do. And so everything that you hear and everything that you've heard from our journey is all God. I mean, we cannot take really any of the credit for it. All we did was work the works, but God is the one that has truly helped us persevere, helped us get through. And then again, there's some things on the back end of this journey that a lot of people don't know about. And maybe we'll talk about that a little bit later, as we continue to go through our journey. But it's just a testament to also our relationship and how much we value each other and value what we add to the relationship. And so, again, I always just appreciate you and everything that you do for us, because it's not easy. And again, just being a Black man in America is not easy. So I just always appreciate you. And I always wanted you to feel like when you came home, this is your peace. This is your time where you can be yourself. You can let loose. You can tell me anything and everything that you want, because I know it's so hard out there for you specifically, also me. But at that time when we were talking about our journey and you working full time in ISSA, I was just always wanted to make sure that I let you know how much I appreciate you and how proud I am of you.
No, it doesn't go unnoticed, and I really appreciate that. And I think about a scripture that really kept me and really kept us, but John 3:30, he
Amen.
must increase and we must decrease. So even when you're at your lowest, and somebody might be at their lowest right now, but God is at his greatest. So there's something
God is at his
happening
greatest.
that you have no idea is happening. There's an open door. There's an opportunity.
Yes.
You just got to be ready for it.
Yes.
But
Keep
God is
working the
working.
works.
He is working.
He is working. He's working. And if you had an opportunity that came your way and it didn't work out in your favor, we always say it was either a not right now, or it was, potentially a yes, or just no, this wasn't the opportunity or the journey that you should go on. So I know we're wrapping up, but I just want to quickly go over, just if you want to rapid fire it, what are 3 lessons you've learned from our CoupleyFit journey?
First one, it's going to take double time, double the money. And first and foremost, and shout out to Ice Cube for this, because Ice Cube said,
Yes.
if you're not willing to put in 5 years and get paid nothing, don't even start the idea as an entrepreneur. If you're not willing to put 5 years in without getting something immediate gratification or money, and that's really what it felt like. So double the time, double the money. Number 2 is timing and relationships are so important.
Very
Your
much.
network is your net worth.
Yes.
And then lastly, but this could have been first, no order, sow where you want to grow.
Mm-hmm. Love that. So for me, it's going to be, don't be afraid or too rigid to pivot. Don't be stuck in your ways. You can make that pivot at any time. Do know that as an entrepreneur, as a solopreneur, whatever your situation is, that you will miss out on special occasions like holidays, birthdays, those things, whether it's just because you need to work or it's because you outright don't have the finances, right? That was something that we learned. And then this is on my last one. This actually came from Sheila Johnson, who was the former CEO for BET Network. She said that you want to hire slow and fire fast. And that was something for us that we didn't talk about, like our employees and our interns. And, we had a partnership with GCU where we had a pipeline with them for their interns through their business department. But, hire slow, fire fast. Okay, now, what are 3 tips that you would give to someone starting a business with their spouse?
Ooh.
Ooh.
If you're starting a business with your spouse, the number 1, how do you work together?
Yes.
If y'all don't get along, that's a separate conversation, but y'all shouldn't go into business together.
That's right.
So that's
Yes.
number 1. How do you guys work together? Number 2, boundaries between work and personal. You got to have a hard stop. It can't be 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, every night. I'm not talking about you, but I mean, this is something
No,
that
I'm
we
saying
can.
you're taking mine.
Oh, am I?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
it's okay.
Well, boundaries between work and personal, that's a major one. Like
That's
having
major.
a hard stop, boundaries.
Yes.
And then the third one, which could have been the first one, keep an income, especially if you're both entrepreneurs and you're doing it together. Ideally, start it off as something that you're building while you currently have an income, just so you don't have that added stress as you're figuring it out and you're going through the journey, because it will be stressful even if you have funding or not. But if you don't have funding and you're both entrepreneurs, that makes it even more tough.
It does. And, you know, we're fortunate enough to be in a situation where we didn't have kids during that time.
True.
And we don't now either, but at that time we didn't have kids. So our mindset, we can do a little bit more. We have a little bit more freedom in that sense, but you're absolutely correct, is make sure you're keeping that income, or you saved up enough to be able to sustain yourself for at least a year. The other thing too, to your point of, you know, learn each other's communication styles, learn each other's roles within the business. What are the strengths and then the areas of opportunities for each other? And then also taking a personality test. That was something too that I may know your personality, but do I actually know it? So the Colby Index was a great one that we took. And to your point with the know when it's time for your business and time for personal, the hard stop is something that we do at 7 p.m. every night. We shift from being business mode to being couple mode, because this goes into my third one of, your business can fail, but this marriage will not. And even if your business fails, you still have a marriage to maintain. And that was something that we've always taken very seriously, especially talking to so many divorced couples over the years, of what were some things that you would have maybe modified, or, you know, opportunities. And most of them would say, yes, my communication style, but I also wish I would have spent more time with my family or with my wife, and how important those date nights are too. So, whew. Goodness gracious. We ran through that pretty fast on this part 2 of the CoupleyFit journey, but we just always want to say thank you so much for listening, or if you're watching on YouTube, we appreciate you. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, even leave us a review on any of the podcast platforms. We greatly appreciate it, and we will catch you on the next episode.